Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the iFlight Alpha A65. It's kind of a porker whoop, and when it comes to whoops, we're trying to usually get the weight way down. Kind of like the Moblite 6. This comes in at like 18 and a half grams. This comes in a lot more, but it flies surprisingly well. It's got some warts of its own, and in this video, I'm going to have a few special features, some that you've been asking for as far as my flights go. So let's cover the specs and get on with that flight.
The motors are the iFlight Zing 0802 22,000 kV. It's running HQ 31mm tri-bladed props. The all-in-one flight controller is the Success 5 amp Whoop F4 with a ESC of 5 amp. The VTX is a separate board, but it only goes up to 50 milliwatt. The camera is spec'd as just a 800 TV line, 150 degree camera. The frame design is quite a bit different than what we've traditionally seen in the 65mm format. We'll cover that more after the flight. It weighs 24.5 grams. I flew it on these newbie drone Nitro Nectar Gold batteries, which brings the weight to just a touch over 32.5 grams. And of course it is 65mm motor post to motor post. It does come with an extra canopy. I like their colors. A screwdriver, a USB charger for your PH20 batteries. I hadn't seen this before. A couple extra screws. I got 2 USB cables in mine. They're the flat style. I suspect only one was supposed to be in there. And we get 2 extra sets of props, a wiring map, a case to put it all in, and stickers. Okay, so we've already gone through the specs, and you know just how heavy this little porker is. At least for a whoop. I mean, it's a good 5.5 grams heavier than the Moblite, but it still flies really well. Yeah, the performance isn't going to be top-notch. You've got to manage that weight somehow. We've got a limited amount of thrust that we can get out of motors this size and props. But it just, I think it comes out in this video, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I picked this video. I flew it too long, but this video, I think I'm flying it a little bit more aggressively than I was in other flights that I had. So if I remember correctly, this flight comes in at 241. Most of my flights came in around 245, and that is on the Nitro Nectar Gold batteries. Those, I believe, are the best PH20 batteries that we can buy. Don't know about their longevity. I've been flying the sin out of them for the longest time. And speaking of flying the sin out of them, some of you that we might be Facebook friends or you follow the Facebook page stuff know that I got a bunch of snow. And so I spent a lot of time flying this. I don't have any outside flight to show you, though. And I kind of think that's okay. Not because of the weather, but because of the quad itself. 9 times out of 10, I pretty much only fly these inside anyways, unless I'm just doing a review, and I do fly them outside for the review because I know some of you do take them outside. I think you can get a pretty good idea of the flight performance from this flight footage. Hopefully it translates to what you want to see. Unfortunately, I think it's still going to be another... We had a pretty good melt off, but I think it's still going to be another day or two before I can get outside to fly, to where it's dry enough to where if I have a crash, I'm not going to have water splashing up onto the quad or land in a puddle. We did get quite a bit of melt off, but we did also get quite a bit of rain. And at the end of this flight, I have been asked here recently about doing some tricks on the channel. You know, I tend to race around when I do indoor flying. So I attempt I think it's called a split S over the railing upstairs. And I do it a couple of times, but for me, if I can't do it twice in a row, that means I don't have it. So in my opinion, I don't have it down yet. I need more practice. I did figure out kind of a different way of doing it. I don't know if you'd call it a wall ride to split S, or I don't know. We'll take a look at it. You call it what you want. It's pretty challenging, at least for me and my skill set, to do those sorts of things. I really had some issues, I think, with the thrust. I really struggled to get to the top end of the throttle, that last 90 to 100%. That is a stretch for me, the way I hold the radio in my hand. You can see we're getting a low battery warning, and we're clear down to 3 volts. Battery's screaming at us, but when we get back to the table there, as we've crashed, that we'll come in at 241 for the flight time. Our battery does recover again to 330. Most of my flights were right around that 2 minutes and 45 seconds, with the battery coming in at 3.5 volts after disarm. Okay, so this is the split S stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't know if maybe this isn't called a split S. So we're just going to pop over the railing, and then we're going to try to do the little dive and swing through there. Sure, pulled it off, then wrecked into the lamp. So, again, what I wanted to do was to be able to do it twice in a row. That gives me kind of a feeling that I'm starting to get the trick. Pulling it off once, you know, a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So I do this. I spent a good part of, I would say 8 batteries. but it's just kind of a tough move. But I think through my struggles, I figured out a way I could do something similar, and I'm going to be able to do it more reliably. And we'll get to that here in just a moment. But what I do to describe it to you is I go into my 15-year-old's room, which I won't be able to do all the time because he's in there sometimes, but he wasn't on this particular night. And then I kind of almost wall ride up. I don't know how to describe it. So I kind of pop up. I still do the same thing, but I do it at an angle rather than going straight at it and then getting straight inverted and going straight down. It's just a tougher move. I nearly pull it off twice, but, you know, bounce off the floor. I don't count that. Sometimes I would get way too close to the wall and I'd have to bail out the other way, but my reaction time wasn't good enough. So lots of crashes. And that was part of the process for me reviewing this. Is it's very durable. And I think that has a lot to do with that different frame design that I mentioned. So I don't know what the frame weight comes in as compared to other frames, but I was really surprised at how well this frame stood up. The construction's a little bit different. The materials might be different too. But I was fully expecting to have more prop damage, more motor damage, and just some frame damage. Here we go. We're going to go out of my son's room, and it's kind of a little wall ride. It gives me more time to see where I'm going rather than just being reactionary. I don't pull it off twice in a row, but that's, I think, much more doable. It gives me more time kind of in that inverted or nose down stage to where I can see where I'm headed and I can react in time. Unfortunately, I clipped that lamp on the wall that sticks out a good 6-8 inches on that attempt, but I think I get close on this attempt as well. This will be the last attempt that we watch before we go back to the desk and look at the details. Yeah, I needed more throttle, hit the beanbag. So something that I didn't talk about during the flight footage, and I should have started right with it, but I didn't, was go back and look at the video noise. You can see the rolling lines in the video, and that wasn't something that made me very happy, but I also found that I wasn't really noticing it when I was flying it. So take that for what it's worth. The VTX, I think the noise was just coming through the VTX. It looked like video noise. But in this day and age, I also think that's one of the warts it has. It's not only its weight, but it also has that VTX that only goes up to 50 milliwatts. Now, for a long time, we got kind of used to only having 25 milliwatts at our disposal. But nowadays, we're getting, you know, we've been getting 200 milliwatts out of things like this. So depends on where you place your priorities. If range and video clarity is by far your top thing, you know, you'll probably want to stay away from this. But there are some other things that I think make this viable, even at its weight. Its weight, it flies well. It's got a different frame design that is very robust, surprisingly robust. The canopy is also very durable. I was surprised to find out we have different components. Rather than having all of our components on one board like the Mobilis do, this has got several different components. You've got your main board has got your flight controller and your ESC. So there you have two components on one board. And then we also have my receiver down here, which is an external XSR, and they looks like they have taken the connector off of it. So you have the range, control link range. Your control link will probably far outrun your video range. And then the VTX, if you can see it right down through there, is an extra board, but it does come with pins. If you can see it there on the right-hand side, see that dark area right over here by my finger? Those are the pins that connect the VTX because it's not secured up into the canopy. It's just riding on those pins. So you might not like some of those facts. I did like the camera. I thought the camera looked really good, provided, you know, we looked through that noise. And I was really surprised that I didn't see more movement of the canopy. It's only got 2 screws. Typically, when we have 2 screws on a canopy, even on a different sort of canopy, we see jello or camera movement of some sort. The connector is rolled pins, which means it's going to have to be replaced sooner than it would be if it were solid pin. It also hurts your performance a little bit. I mentioned it because I cover everything. I try to cover as much as I can in these videos, but I was super impressed with how this flew. And I did want to look at the frames here just a little bit. So this is a frame we've been seeing for a very long time, several years, as it's been the same sort of frame. And hopefully the visual comparison will help us. But this one holds the batteries much better as well. You can see I've got a little rubber band over this one. This one holds the batteries much better. And you can maybe not quite tell it, but it's got more material where that little standoff is. There's more material there. Let me see if I can get these in an angle to where you can see them both. They have that similar downslope design around the post, but the material is thicker. Hopefully that comes through in video. And when you're feeling these ducks, this feels more substantial. It's actually, yeah, that's one of the reasons why it looks like it's just flat out taller. Let me get that in camera shot there. See if I can get those equal. So the Alpha 65 has a taller duct by 1 millimeter or 2. And then, of course, you can see the motor supports. There's 4 on this Alpha where there's only 3 on the Mobula. So I think that's something that I want to explore more. I want to see if I can get these frames just on their own and see if they hold up over time with different canopies, especially the posts. I'm really surprised that typically with the post, I find that I break at least one post. I broke one post on this, and it doesn't even have a canopy on it. It's just from me crashing it about so much. So I'm really encouraged by the durability of this quad. You know, I don't have any bent shafts on the motors, and I banged it around. Although I did shift the props down. When it comes, the props were up just a touch, and I take my fingernails. I've got a little bit of a fingernail there. Get them on the outside of my prop. I'm holding the motor from the bottom as best I can. If you can get something to support the shaft on the bottom, that's even better. But then just to press the prop down, you know, try to go straight down. Don't get it at an angle. Don't give it any extra resistance. Just try to push it straight down, and then you should be able to get your prop down all the way to the bell. That will help protect your motor shafts. So with the durability and the fact that it's got several different components, so you could swap out the video receiver for your favorite. Maybe you like the Rush mini tanks, or you got whatever TBS Tramp Unify Nano 5G, whatever, some other micro video VTX that you would like to put in there. You can do that with this one versus, I don't know if we have the pads for this on these now. I'm kind of forgetting. I apologize. I should have been more prepared for that section of my notes, but I don't think we can add. I think we have one UART, so we might be able to add a video receiver to this one. I'm not certain about that, though. But we definitely can with this one. And you also have the external receiver, so like in the case of this, if you wanted a particular receiver, like maybe you want to do Crossfire, you can order it with Crossfire. So that's another benefit of this quad. I'm kind of making arguments for this because this flies really nicely. It's good fun inside, and it goes against most of what we talk about when it comes to whoops and micros in general. It's 4 to 5 grams heavier than it should be. It flies for over 2.5 minutes. Even on my best flight was over 2.5 minutes. It just seems like this one's pushing some barriers, some envelopes that it shouldn't, and it still does it pretty well. Now, the last point is going to be the price point. What does this guy cost? Well, if you buy it with a Crossfire receiver, you are going to find you'll need to pay $128. If you get it with an XM Plus, it's $110. If you get it with an R XSR, it's $117. And the very last option is without a receiver, and it is $99. So there you go. There is the iFlight Alpha A65 Christmas version, 65 millimeter 1S F4 AIO FC 5 amp ESC 48 channel blah 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 blah. It's the A65. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. What do you think about this? I thought it was pretty cool. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching. Oh, I almost forgot. I kind of was really curious about this. I haven't tested this, so don't include this as part of my review. But this is the smallest USB 1S battery charger I have seen. And there's really nothing on it. Maybe it's just got a voltage regulator and it just passes the voltage through. Probably has a light. Let me plug it in. Yeah, it's got a green light on it, so let's plug in a battery. So now it's red and charging. I'm not going to sit here and wait, but that's really small. It could be kind of handy.